Welcome back to Wuhan, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with Naon, the mid laner from Young Generation, after their victory just then. Tell me, what was the difference between this game and the game you lost yesterday?
Chúc mừng em chiến thắng ha. Thì câu hỏi đầu tiên của em á là cái trận chiến này á, nó khác gì với trận đầu tiên mà trận thua của em ở trước KOG?
Trận đấu sự khác biệt giữa trận đấu bữa nay và hôm qua thì là do lần đầu tiên góp mặt tại giải đấu chung kết thế giới nên tụi em đã có phần là hơi khớp và đã có một số lỗi giao tiếp và bắn bích. Còn hôm nay thì tụi em đã ổn định lại và thi đấu một cách tốt nhất.
Yeah, the biggest difference was that yesterday it was our first time ever on a big stage, so we had a little bit of stage fright and have problems with communication and make mistakes in big bands. This time we had a lot better composure, so we did pretty well.
And it showed. You guys tore apart KLG. And speaking of that, this is your first time on a big stage, the first time Young Generation have been to Worlds. And already, nobody quite knew who you were coming into this tournament. But after the first two games, even though you lost, you're one of the most hyped up mid laners coming to the play-in stage. How does that make you feel?
Thì mặc dù là hai trận hôm qua em thua, nhưng mà sau hai trận đó thì em được đánh giá là một trong những mid laner hàng đầu của cái vòng play-in này. Thì em nghĩ sao về điều đó?
Lần đầu tiên được xuất hiện tại chung kết thế giới cũng rất là vinh dự. Thì em chỉ làm tốt những gì mình làm được. Thì được đánh giá người đi mid tốt thì em cảm thấy rất là vui.
Yeah, so it was simply an honor for me to be here already. So if I was just to be one of the best mid laners, I'm very happy.
Well, that's great to hear. Finally, just want to get you guys' thoughts, because after that victory against KLG, it's now in your hands to make it out of the group stage. At worst, you can force a tie if you're able to take down your opponents later on. Are you guys confident heading into this next, or how confident are you guys going into this next match?
Thì bây giờ sau khi mình thắng trận này xong thì mình đã có quyền tự quyết. Nếu như mình thắng Fenerbahçe mình vào luôn, đúng không? Nếu như mình thua Fenerbahçe mình có thể đánh tiebreak được. Thì em tự tin trong cái trận tiến tiếp theo hay không?
Nếu như sẽ có trận tiebreak diễn ra thì em tự tin là tụi em có thể đánh bại KLG một lần nữa.
Yeah, if the tiebreak is going to happen, we believe we're going to beat them again.
Well, that's great to hear. Best of luck later on. We're going to send it back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Fish. Interesting to hear. Stage fright, the factor, the reason why we saw such a stark contrast.
I mean, it was visually kind of apparent, but for some people who might not have seen him play before, it might have been like, oh, this is just a bad Syndra player. But then you see the stark difference, like you said, between game 2 and 3 and game 1.
Yeah. Look good overall. Well, next up is, of course, going to be Fenerbahçe going toe-to-toe with Rampage. And yesterday, the TCL champions, they showed dominance within their group, and they're aiming to secure the #1 seed for the elimination stage.
Yeah, I was high on Fenerbahçe before they started playing, but I was surprised with how good they actually were. I didn't think they would get an upset on the #1 seed. I just had them at solidly second. So to see this, I guess, really strong performance from them, definitely not dominant, was a pleasure, it was a surprise, and I hope to see that improvement between days.
And I think the biggest standout was the bottom lane. This is not a bottom lane that's known for being incredibly dominant.
Right, I think if you looked at the mid lane, you say Frozen's going to carry. Seems like he has a little bit of extra baggage, the fact that he has to help do some of these communication things with Crash stepping in, so the jungler also on a separate page, and it's the bot lane who's overperforming a little bit in these team fights that's really allowing them to win this late game. If they can just shore up the early game, then it becomes even easier.
And the early game's always going to be the problem. Even in their local scene, the casters there have said the early game's their biggest problem. They actually said they expect Fenerbahçe to 4-0 the group stage if their bottom lane doesn't lose lane. Well, we saw a 3v5 penta even without the Korean, so perhaps just get through lane.
It's looking good right now. We have to remember, right now, they need to secure that first seed. That's avoiding Cloud9. That's avoiding WE. Definitely going to be important to do.
I think, yeah, anyone who saw, the first 2 days of competition realized how strong these #1 seeds are going to be. Avoiding that's critical if you want to make it to the actual group stage of Worlds.
Yeah, avoid that and continue the momentum that Crash has seemed to have for himself through his first 2 games as well, because it isn't just that bottom lane Frozen. Maybe not the same performances that we expect from the player, but when he's spending all of his time working with a brand new player and former teammate of his, then it changes the dynamic of the team.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing for me is that Fenerbahçe, of any team here, maybe has the most room to improve because they are working with the substitute jungler. With extra time, they can get extra scrims in and find out a system that's going to keep working better and better as they advance through the tournament.
All right, we're going to have to see what they can bring to the table against Rampage. The final match for Rampage starts now.
All right, thank you very much, Dracos. Now, Fenerbahçe starting off on the blue side this game. They elect to ban away the Galio, followed up by the Rakan, and on Rampage's side, Kalista Talia off the board.
Yeah, and one of the first times that we've really seen Galio banned away on blue side. So curious if that means that Thaldrun wants to put priority on Cho'Gath, and they don't want to give a champion, you know, a free tank champion into the Cho'Gath that then has more mobility in terms of cross-map plays.
Well, we'll see if that is indeed the case. Now Rampage is back over to them, and they elect to ban the Cho'Gath themselves, so there won't be either of those champions this time around. Seems like both these teams learned some lessons.
Yeah, I could see what you wanted there, and they say no. Thaldrun, you're not going to get one of your best champions today.
Instead, the J4 comes through. Now we've seen that mostly in the jungle role. We'll see if that continues the way it is. Now Rampage, they decided to lock in a quick Kog'Maw here on their side.
But ultimately speaking, or switching gears back to this Jarvan, you know, Jarvan does lose some of his power because he's not being paired in tandem with Galio, and that's really been, you know, everyone's talking about like the Rakan and the Xayah, but there's been a lot of Jarvan and Galio running around the Rift today.
Yeah, it's a serious bromance as well you can't overlook. Now, for Rampage, here's another solid pairing because they've got the makings of a Juggernaut composition.
Yep, you've already got so much added power and benefit. That means that there is more pressure on a hyper-scaling ADC to match that. Tristana certainly fits into that wheelhouse, and I expect that Padden will take his tried and true.
Yep, just lets the timer tick down before he does it, buys the team a little bit more time to think about what they want to do next, and ooh, that would be an interesting one, but I think we're going to have to wait a little while. Frozen's definitely contemplating quite a few picks.
I'm excited about all of these picks, though, that have been flashed forward. I would love to see another Cassiopeia take the stage. We have seen a couple of different build iterations coming out and playing so far. Yes, her twin fangs got hit a little bit, and that does start to stack up, and as I say that, he's like, nope, right turn. We need that Ardent Sensor.
All right, so this time we got the Karma all locked in, but of course, that could still be down in the bottom. We saw it in mid lane last game, but that was a very different type of game that we're probably going to see here.
And again, theoretically, it could still be a top Karma. I expect that it's probably going to flex between Frozen and Japone. But again, it's providing that Ardent Sensor for Tristana, which could theoretically fill up more of an all-engaged champion. You know, Alistar slipped through the bans here, and as I say that, they're like, nope, get that guy out of here.
Yep, and of course with the Shen locked in for Rampage, we've got a lot of protection on that side as well. Alistar banned off, as you said, is back over to Fenerbahçe. We'll see what they decide to remove. Still needing mid lanes for Rampage.
But my concern is that Rampage could fall into the exact same hole that we saw KLG fall into just last game, this idea of only having one viable damage threat. So I would like to see them pick up, you know, a strong mid laner to complement this composition, because while Kog'Maw can certainly go off, Rampage have been A, having difficulty getting there, and then B, if the Kog'Maw dies, they've got nothing left in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, they could put like Ramadan something like a Corki maybe, a little bit more mixed damage, allows them to kind of survive about just about any laning phase. But you talked about the Cassiopeia, maybe that's the time to bring it out. We've seen a lot of rising up, pardon the pun, and maybe that's the choice.
Yeah, I'd like to see a Ryze. I agree with Mark C, what he said yesterday, that I'm not quite sold yet if Ryze is going to take the place of Cassiopeia, but I just love the playmaking potential that that champion offers teams.
Yeah, it allows them to really do a whole lot of things. It's one way to also move the glass cannon that is Kog'Maw. Maybe you want to get behind everybody and bring the Lulu along for the ride. There's definitely going to be a lot of mobility if they elect to do it, but that's a lot of theory crafting. Meanwhile, the bans are still going hot and heavy. Orianna, Lucian banned away from the mid lane.
But there is a lot of respect being given over to mid lane right now. You're taking away his Lucian, taking away the Orianna. He's now hovering the Syndra. I do like this. Like I said, I want more damage coming out of that mid lane, so not everything is on Yatori's shoulders.
Yeah, give Ramane a chance to shine. And remember, for Rampage, this might be the last chance for them to really get a win on the board. They can't really progress any further at Worlds, but this game definitely for pride right now, and they're going to be going all out, taking it very seriously as always.
And you know, that's the big thing. The LJL, they're one of the smallest regions in the world. They play very few games domestically, so it's a big deal for Rampage. You know, 3-time consecutive title holder of the Japanese domestic league, to get to Worlds and to just get that score. You know, just carve one in the win column.
Yeah, and if they can do it against a team like Fenerbahçe, who were able to upset Hong Kong Attitude, well, that's going to be a pretty big statement for the LGL squad. Now, Fenerbahçe lock in the rest of their composition, the Gragas for the jungle, maybe the top, I suppose, as well as the Cassiopeia.
And it does mean that it will be a Karma support, so I'm glad to see Cass again. We've seen multiple different iterations of the build. We've seen Cassiopeia's going towards the Rod of Ages to try to compensate and building up more AP as opposed to more of the defensive build, since she did lose a lot of power on that Twin Fangs. It does stack up over time, so we'll see and keep track of what direction Frozen goes.
Yeah, final lock-in, of course, on the Rampage side was the Lee Sin for Tussle. So he'll be trying to make something happen, probably in that mid lane early on, but I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a few plays down towards the bottom. A few tools in the kit of Rampage.
But again, Rampage have been progressing and developing their draft over time from day number 1. Again, it's building in or bringing more viable options for them over the course of this game. Now they can make plays with the Lee Sin, with the Syndra. Think of how strong that level 6 is, or the ability to walk in and do whatever you want in the jungle, as well as then have the late game insurance policy of the Kog'Maw. So I like the adaptations that Rampage have made. It's clear to me that they understood what went wrong for them yesterday, and they're trying to build and fix that today. And yes, this is only a Pride match for them, but Pride means everything.
It certainly does, and it's going to be a very tough test for this Rampage squad up against the hitherto dominant Fenerbahçe, 1907 Fenerbahçe that is, and you got to look at Crash, man. This guy's been stepping up pretty epic, so going into his jungle might be a little dangerous.
Yeah, I would definitely try to stay out of Crash's way right now. He's had very impressive steals to keep 1907 Fenerbahçe in it, and speaking of keeping them in it, it's pressure on right now to win here so they can stay in time with HKA. You know, they want to take first in their group. They want to upset things and dodge one of those other power regions coming into the best of 5, so they need to start here.
We'll see if they're able to do it. We're loading up onto Summoner's Rift for the Game 3 today. Fenerbahçe not lost a game just yet. They don't want to start now.
And a lot of eyes for me, yes, it's on Crash and kind of the way that he dynamically changes the style in contrast to someone like Move, who is a bit more of a control-oriented jungler, you know, a bit more of the back pocket safety net for Frozen to allow him to do what he wants. But a lot of focus for me is actually on Thaldrn. I think he's quietly had an amazing play-in so far. I think he is so pivotal and key to a lot of the success that 1907 Fenerbahçe get, and particularly how he sets up team fights. And on a champion like Jarvan, he's empowered to do that so much more. Keep focus on how this guy is moving around once the towers drop, come mid-game, come late game, and the fights that he sculpts are how he sneaks in behind teams.
Yeah, we're talking about where Tussle might make plays in the early game, in the mid or in the bottom. Do you think he maybe wants to try and shut down Thaldrn? They've got a taunt available with Heavy up top.
Exactly. It's the fact that when you have a Lee Sin and you have so much hard CC in both your top as well as your mid lane, that you kind of have the pick of the litter about where you want to attack and where you want to blitz. For me, though, it's still a lot of focus on Frozen. He is the primary carry of 1907. I know I just built up Thaldrn, and I really like what Thaldrn brings for the team fights, but in terms of laning dominance and laning strength, Frozen is an absolute monster right now. And on a lower mobility champion like Cassiopeia, if you hit the Scout of the Week, the guy's not running cleanse. You know, he has the heal, so there is a weakness to exploit there.
It's very confident of Frozen, too, to just run that heal. And starts out popping out the bushes and sending some Twin Fangs of flying. There's a few more already, and even with those nerfs, the Cassiopeia still doing damage early on. Ramane finding that out the hard way.
I also respect the skin. You know, we've seen a lot of the internal Cassiopeia running around, and it's not my favorite thing to look at. So
it's a little strange, to be honest. Kind of a scary, off-putting skin.
It's a little
more classic here.
Decepticon for me.
Yeah, that's the way of things. Oh man, Frozen's already starting off with the bully. Ramane might have to hit that heal a little sooner than he'd like to.
He's like, guys, didn't we just nerf Cassiopeia? Why is she still able to do this? The key thing, though, is to watch how Frozen is using his Twin Fangs to make sure that he's picking up the CS, so he's getting the mana return. The thing about low-level Cassiopeia, you know, level 1, level 2, is if she does try to go for these early all-ins, if she's not paying attention and doesn't get the mana return, she can actually just run out of mana and not have enough to burn you down.
Right.
So it's about trading the damage, but also making sure that you are taking care of your wave properly.
And maybe not pushing up nearly as far as he could be, because that makes it easier for Tussle to try and push him back, and he's a little low on the health bar. We saw some cheeky trades down in the bottom side, and in fact, Padden's actually moving a little far forward just to get a ward inside the jungle.
Yeah, really
Rampage.
Respecting the fact that Tussle did start topside. They know this because they saw Kog'Maw and Lulu come into the lane. So just giving respect that Lee Sin's probably hanging around. In fact, he's going to get underneath them anyway through the try.
Oh boy. Level 3 on the Lee Sin, not going to go for the Krug camp. Instead, it's the long wraparound.
Oh, he's thinking about it. He's like,
oh,
they're so far forward, but...
Takes the blast cone, waiting out.
The problem is where the wave came in. I bet if that wave hadn't set in, he would have just run in. But now that it's set, now he feels like he has a good angle to look for this Q.
Yeah, trying to bait with the Torimayashi. Instead, they turn their attention over to Yapone, knowing that he can't get the jump away the same way Padden can, and that's just down to half the health bar. It's all they could do for now.
Yeah, Tussle was looking for the fadeaway Q, held onto it, made sure that he tapped Japone last with it, but unfortunately, you know, maybe 1 or 2 more auto attacks and he would have felt confident pulling the trigger, trying to get the flash there, but good response from 1907 Fenerbahçe's bot lane to respect, pull back, not lose any summoners.
Yeah, Tussle might have the chance to do that again, though. Of course, he's got some vision down inside the jungle, one of them just expiring, but the other already standing strong. Now, Frozen and Ramane still doing it, but it's a little bit more even than it looked earlier.
Yeah, Frozen did kind of duck out, lost control of the creep wave, but that's fine. He's just going to sit back, pick up this big wave. I want to talk about Crash right now, though. He saw that Tussle was on the bottom side. That gives him the go-ahead to recognize that Lee Sin's not going to be on this side of the map and steal away a free Krug camp. And because Tussle didn't also take the camps, he went for the gank instead. This will give him a bit of an edge, and you can see that in the CS already.
Yeah, setting Crash ahead on the game, and we talked about making early plays. Of course, Crash has kind of been his calling card. Pretty much plays all game long since he's been subbed in on this team. See what he's able to get done. Looking at the top side, Evie might want to watch his back.
Yeah, there were a couple of pings. I was curious if maybe Evie... Oh, hold on.
Holy moly, we've got a fight on our hands. It was heal for heal. Ramane, Frozen both low on the mana pools, man. These guys just want to have a slugfest.
But the problem is that Frozen's wave is about to push forward into the Syndra. So Syndra's still feeling comfortable being this far forward. And he's also pulling Tussle here.
Yeah, speaking of comfortable, he knows that there's no counter vision available. Of course, Crash here on the chicken camp means that Frozen is not going to have to worry too much about being dove because there's some relief coming in if it would happen. Instead, no more aggression for the time being. Decided to both pull some punches, and Ramane's got free farm in the meantime.
Yeah, but he will have more of a delayed back. I was actually curious. There's a trick that Jensen likes to do where when the wave comes to him, he actually pulls it off into this side brush so he can get a nice freeze and then force the enemy mid laner to not take the back and then open up, kill pressure there. But unfortunately, he just lets the wave push into him and says, that's fine, we're just going to deny, 2 CS.
Yeah. Speaking of the wave right into him, Valdrin got taunted up into the wave of minions that Evie is starting to push up towards him. Of course, he should be able to absorb that without a whole lot of trouble. But this is one of the things that Shen can do in the early game, bully a little bit, just by virtue of having that taunt.
But he will have his level 6, and it's not necessarily the bowling in the 1v1 that I'm concerned about. It's about how Shen or Evie is going to impact the bottom side of the map. Now, Yutori and Dara have been pushed in pretty much the entire time. That makes sense. They're against Tristana and Karma, and what that does is then allows Crash to do plays like this, where he just gets right in your face, starts contesting things for the Wolf Camp. But if Tristana and Karma continue to be overextended, there is an opportunity where maybe Tussle gets down there with the Shin, and they try to, flip the tables on this over-aggressive bot lane.
Yeah, and it's dark in the river for the time being. We saw already before that Padden was able to get a bit of vision out inside the jungle to try and track Tussle, even if he went for the long wraparound. Now, Japon's managed to do it, but Tussle still has a lot of opportunities to go in there.
Yeah, but 1907, like you were talking about, Fenerbahçe have just had such great vision control. They're constantly creating space and creating safety for Padden and Japon to be that far forward, to continue to apply pressure to Yutori and Dara underneath their tower.
Yeah. So while things kind of settle just for a little while, it's only the slim gold lead for Rampage. We've only seen the first couple of backs out of both teams, and it does seem like we're settling in for a much longer than one that we've already seen today, Frosker, and I feel like both teams are pretty confident that their late game scaling is pretty strong.
I agree with that. Rampage have said it themselves that they feel more comfortable. They like to play more of kind of a conservative, patient, slow style. They like the 5v5. Their composition certainly helps build that up. Again, it's really about the Kog'Maw. It's about how the Shen and the Lulu are able to work around him and then just playmaking opportunities by Syndra and Lee Sin. And on the other side, 1907 Fenerbahçe pretty much have the same thing. Yeah, Frozen's a really strong laner, but Thaldrun just offers so much for this team when they do start skirmishing, when they do start 5v5. And so I agree with you. I think everyone's buckled in and feeling fine to feel this one out slow, take it steady, and just hope that they scale up better.
One man who may not be quite so content sitting back is going to be Tussle. He's had to fight for some of his own jungle farm this game, but not for lack of trying to gank on the map. Just hasn't found the results just yet. You can see, though, a lot of vision inside of the Rampage jungle. 1907 Fenerbahçe have definitely been not slouching on making sure they keep eyes on everything Rampage are doing.
And that's a lot of credit to Crash. In fact, he's now opening up an opportunity to gank this mid lane, and this is where I wanted Rampage to really focus attention as here they go.
Okay, Scout of the Week, that might just save his life. However, the barrel comes out.
Cask.
A little bit too late, dodged by Ramane, and it's first blood on the 1v2!
Oh, here comes Tussle.
Oh man, this just turned right around. 1907 Fenerbahçe thought they had the inside track, but Ramane gets the kickback onto Crash, but he might just seal the doom of his mid laner. No, it's a Shen shield. And what a play for Rampage.
And that's exactly what needed to happen for this Rampage squad. They've been sitting back, they've been playing patient, but 1907 Fenerbahçe just super overreach here. It starts out good. The Scout of the Week delays Frozen from immediately falling up on Crash here. He then whiffs the Cask, and it's just an ultimate trade, but Cassiopeia is the one that goes down. And then here comes Tussle with the impressive Insect.
Oh, what a play right now with a flashback. I guess he got the cheat on it, but still.
Yeah, he gets the animation. It's one of those things where in the windup of the Dragon Rage, if you flash in the middle of it, you can change direction, and that's what kicks him back into it.
Yeah, but Rampage, that is some much-needed gold in their pockets. One for the jungler, one for the mid lane. I got to give some serious props to Ramane, though. That was a bad situation, and he made out like a bandit.
Now, the opportunity here is that 1907 Fenerbahçe could just look for the same play on mid lane. Syndra doesn't have flash. Frozen still retained both of his summoners. The thing is that they're just waiting on the cast to come back up. So there still is opportunity to turn this mid lane back in their favor.
Seems for the time being, they're a little bit more preoccupied on the swap up top, and that means that no one's there to defend the bottom side. So Yutor Miyashi is getting free hits on the tower alongside Dara. Thaldrun is actually nowhere near this right now. He's still sitting on Fountain.
Normally when we see teams look for this lane swap, it makes sense against the likes of Shin, because when that ultimate becomes available, you just want to try to deny it. Unfortunately, though, we've already seen the ultimate go down mid lane, so it is just trading one for one. But advantage to Rampage is they get it first.
Yeah, they were there a lot quicker on the draw, and even with a little help from Tussle, they're able to get it done. So 9 minutes and 50 seconds into this game, just shy of the 10, Fenerbahçe finding themselves without any kills, without any towers. It's going to change in just a minute, but Rampage aren't done on this bottom side. Yutori Miyashi on level 6, he's got living artillery, and they can keep on pushing.
Yeah, but with Jarvan there, they do need to be careful. Someone is going to have to respond to Padden and Japone up into the top lane. Gragas is also being pulled up there.
Okay, we might get into the good old double tower trades. It's, yeah, Rampage, they're the ones who've got one leg up. There's only a few more minions left, but they've got more than enough damage to finish the fire off, and it looks like Evi's not even going to try to go and defend. He's going for the mid lane. They want to dive it here.
Yeah, and Rampage are making it very clear that the mid lane is what they want.
All right, Scout of the Week. The Unleashed Power's on top of Frozen. They push him back, and it looks like Ramane is going to make it out by the skin of his teeth.
Again, these guys, yes, they come from a tiny region, but they are 3-time winners, consecutive splits in their region, and they are trying to play for pride here. There is nothing on the line except for the name of Japan.
And you've got to be sweating a little bit right now. If you're 1907 Fenerbahçe, remember every single win counts. They might be 2-0 on the board, but Hong Kong Attitude, they already came out swinging earlier today against the same team, and you start dropping games like this, you may not walk away with that first seed.
And Ramone, already 100% kill participation. Yeah, it's only 3 kills, but 11 minutes and on a Syndra, that is going to matter. Next Dragon will be in the Infernal. It'll be spawning at 17 minutes, and the power spikes will start to come in for their composition.
All right, here was that play once again. Started off with Frozen, getting the Petrifying Gaze off, and then he flashed forward. And Evi and Ramane managed to just have enough damage left in the tank to finish him off.
Even with Syndra tanking the tower right there. So Frozen did what he could. Unfortunately, he didn't have, the appropriate backup to punish Rampage being so aggressive underneath that tower.
Yeah, really nicely played. So gives them a 2,500 gold lead with towers traded up top and down bottom. The map is open up in a bit of a lopsided way, but Yutor Miyashi and Dara, they're on the wrecking crew here. Going to make it 3 for 3 on towers.
Yeah, their responsibility is just picking up the global gold and picking up the farm. Syndra is definitely online right now, has the completed item, but poor little Kog'Maw, he's still in between a lot of his items. Looks like he's looking for that Rage Blade Rush, already has the AD, so prioritizing that over the AP so he can continue to shove down these structures.
Yeah, and I think 1907 Fenerbahçe, realizing they can't respond to it in time, just decide to trade and mirror once again, so there's going to be a lot of global gold coming in for both teams for a little while. However, there's not a whole lot else being able to take that the teams can take on the map, except perhaps the Rift Herald. This time Evi's here to actually defend, but it's 1v3.
And while we are playing out in the side lanes, we still need to give a lot of attention to this mid lane. Frozen is just trying to play damage control and keep them from snowballing further on that, but he's playing without a flash, he's playing without a heal, and you saw that Syndra and Lee Sin actually spent a lot of their time looking for another opportunity to punish Frozen and not moving down bottom immediately.
Yeah, Tussle's not always been the first to a lot of these fights, but he's certainly been the one putting them away, so far, props to this Rampage team with nothing on the line but pride. They're showing a rare form here. Frozen, just got to dodge those balls.
I mean, it helps when, kills are thrown into the meat grinder.
For sure. Yeah, game's definitely gone a little bit more chaotic than we might have expected from the first few minutes.
So Rampage do need to respond to this. 1907 Fenerbahçe have spent, 3 waves down here? And poor little Evi is just assist ping, guys. Hello?
Team?
Team?
He's the only one with the teleport, unfortunately, so there's not much anyone else can do.
Yeah, issue is that Yutori's on the other side. He's just trying to hoover up a lot of this farm, get to that item breakpoint for Kog'Maw, but without Tussle moving over because he's, hunting around mid lane, Evi just has to watch his tower fall for free, and gold lead shifting, slightly better in favor of 1907. They were farther behind, but that's certainly going to help a lot.
Yeah. Does seem like Rampage are focusing all their energies up towards the top, trying to get a lot of control out. There was a Rift Scuttler fight that Tussle ended up winning at the end of it all, and should be able to secure themselves up that... Oh, hold on a second. As the Rift Herald was started.
This is
It's like Thaldron was checking into it.
really dangerous, though. 1907 Fenerbahçe should feel fine to contest this. They have the completed Infinity Edge on the Tristana, so they feel great to start a 5v5 right now.
Oh, everyone's coming in. And not to mention, they've also got the Ardent Sensor. Oh my goodness! Japone gets the steal out on the end. They can't quite pick up the Eye of the Rift Herald, so Rampage decide they want to take the 5v5 fight right to him, but they're getting a little bopped around. Crash starts it off with a party barrel to kill Evie, and Ramane, isolated from the team, has to flash back into him. Gonna stay alive for now.
And now it's inside track for 1907 Fenerbahçe on the mid lane, and that's going to help huge in setting up this Infernal Drake. The big story was the difference of the 80 carries. Again, the completed Infinity Edge, whereas Kog'Maw is in between items. And someone needs to grab that.
I don't think Thaldron remembered to pick up the Eye. But they got mid lane on the mind.
That's fine, I guess. Huge move from Japone, but they still need to grab it.
Well, we'll see if they end up going back around. Sometimes you leave your house without the keys, sometimes you leave the pit without the Rift Herald.
Oh god, did I leave the stove on?
Let's see this one again. What a steal that was.
Yeah, the fade away from Karma. And again, I love the fact that 1907 Fenerbahçe understand that they're strong enough. You know, Thaldron's over there just scoping the situation out. There's the steal on the Rift Herald. And then, like I said, it's a story of 280 carries. Padden just has his power spike right now, and Kog'Maw doesn't. Yutori's just not putting out the same damage, and Syndra's trying to do what she can, but when she's against, you know, the entire team, it's not much.
Yeah, I think Rampage just got a little too big for the britches right there, trying to force the fight out, and unfortunately end up giving away a kill, losing out on the Rift Herald. At least they didn't give it away because Fenerbahçe forgot to grab it.
Yeah, so the Rift Herald has gone bye-bye. No one has it. Maybe they just wanted to retain the trinket.
Maybe.
Let's think about the positives here.
All right.
Now they can use their
That's a
sweepers.
way to spin it.
They can place the trinkets. Mate, I'll spin it all day. I cast the LPL.
Well, I guess you got to do sometimes. But okay, I mean, we just got a proof of concept that 1907 Fenerbahçe can definitely take on 5v5 fights. Padden's got the Infinity Edge, as he said. Even Frozen's starting to dish some damage.
It is different, though, because Kog'Maw now has a completed item in the Rage Blade as well.
Oh, that's true.
Like you said, the Ardent Sensor, and Lulu, level 8 will be closer to level 9, so having 5 points in her shield.
Okay. We'll see what Rampage end up doing. Of course, this game just got a little bit less certain for them. It's 1 minute until that Infernal Drake we were talking about earlier is going to spawn up. But the tempo advantage is in 1907 Fenerbahçe's favor, especially in this mid lane. The dual lane is going to back, though.
Is it in the mid lane?
Not anymore.
I was going to say we could check in on the itemization for Cassiopeia because we did have questions. You know, some of the Cassiopeias have gone more towards the Rod of Ages to try to compensate for the AP adjustments. This is the more traditional Cassiopeia build, so Frozen staying pretty tried and true there. But he knows his responsibility. I'm supposed to sit next to Padden, hold his hand, and I'm on babysitting duty. You can't come get my Tristana if Cassiopeia is standing right next to her.
Yeah, a little bit different on the Rampage side since Ramane was the one that started ramping things up. And of course, he's still in full Syndra threat mode. But as this game goes on, we will start to see that Kog'Maw emerging as the threat. With the Guinsoo's Rage Blade already picked up, he's, as you said, going to dish a bit more damage as well. But Rampage seemed to have stabilized after losing out on the Rift Herald. They got pushed up in the top, trying to hold on in the mid. And Ramane's down in the bottom, so really nothing's pushing the way of 1907 Fenerbahçe but the Dragon Zone.
Yeah, they've lost, Rampage have lost complete control over the Infernal Drake, so still not feeling confident enough. Maybe waiting for 2 items, you know, maybe that Hurricane on Kog'Maw before they really want to step toe and contest. But, you know, giving away a free Infernal never feels good.
No, that's definitely not what you want, especially when you're going to be playing a scaling war. Extra AD and AP for all the champions on the side of 1907 Fenerbahçe.
So the thing is that by the time the next Infernal Drake spawns, Kog'Maw will have his big 2 items completed, so they'll definitely feel comfortable. The race is now on for Padden, who, as the Tristana, is a bit more dependent on kind of the 3-item power spike versus just the 2, especially when looking across at Kog'Maw there. So I feel like this next 6-minute window, Kog'Maw's totally fine. He's going to hit it no problem. There's a bit more pressure and time sensitivity to Padden and how much farm he's going to pick up in that time.
Well, he's halfway there, and I think that the critical thing is that they've...
living on a prayer?
Always, apparently. You just completely made me forget what I was going to say. Thaldron, that's it.
Whoa!
It's not karaoke time yet, Frosk. We're going to do that a little bit later. Thaldron is going to be able to get involved in these fights. As you predicted at the start of it, this Jarvan, the playmaking champion, he's got a lot of damage to bear as well. And I feel like they can kind of sit him on the sideline because the TP is always going to be available to get involved in the 5v5.
And Thaldron is incredibly important in Rampage's composition because it's about the Kog'Maw. And if you can get that backline dive, guess who's responsible for that? They have the Gragas cast, they have the Cataclysm, so they have the tools to isolate, knock Yutori out of position, and just pop him like a balloon. So now all eyes need to be on Thaldron and Crash about how they get that Kog'Maw out of position.
Yeah, and Crash, after a little bit of an early oopsie, he's definitely stabilized. That last fight was pretty effective to kind of shut down what this Rampage team was doing, but he does face check right in to Tussle and Ramane. Not a whole lot of damage dealt. He was able to face tank through most of it. Thaldrin, meanwhile, heading down towards this bottom side where Evi's shoving away at the mini-wave.
But this is just a scouting mission. 1907 Fenerbahçe aren't looking for a fight here. Yeah, if they can pick someone out of position, it's going to feel nice, but it's about the vision game right now. They're setting up for the Baron that's spawning in 39 seconds. Crash does need to be a bit respectful, though. His team's not as close to him as he might think. Yeah,
that's the one thing about trying to set up for Baron vision. If your jungler ends up getting taken out right before it spawns, that's usually not a good sign. Still, a lot of control inside this jungle. 1907 Fenerbahçe not loosening their grip at all. Despite a gold advantage for Rampage, they, of course, just lost track on their own.
And in fact, the only thing that I wish that they would do right now is actually get a back in for Japone so he can pick up more control wards to really secure this Baron, because that seems to be their next primary objective.
Well, might get something for it before, though. 1907 Fenerbahçe looking for the tower on the inside. However,
but it's really hard to break this structure into a Syndra and a Kog'Maw unless they find a good cast. There's so much wave clear on Rampage that I feel like they can hold this for a long time unless 1907 feel confident enough to either look for a dive or something crazy like that. I wouldn't recommend it, but pushing forward like that, I didn't think it was the best use of their time.
Especially how important it is for them to pick up a win here against a team that they were able to dominate pretty effectively earlier on. You cannot afford to drop this right now when Hong Kong esports are hot at their heels.
Yeah, but here they go. So they've recognized. Like I said, I just wish that they wouldn't have pushed forward and looked for the chip damage. I wish they would have prioritized getting the back for Japone, particularly to pick up control wards, which he's picked up boots.
Well, I mean, that helps him to get faster back to the team, so he can then back faster to get control ward.
That's like the classic LPL back. I can't kill anyone with a control ward, but I can kill them with a boot.
He upgrades his Sightstone at the very least, so he's got a few more tools in his arsenal, but still a very close gold game right here at 21 minutes in. But Rampage, they've definitely been on the back foot for the last 4 or 5 of them.
But they keep pinging back to this Baron now. They already have a control ward on it. Thaldrin's trying to create a pressure point bottom, see how many people he can get to respond to him. And 1907 Fenerbahçe are just throwing everything mid. And we might just hold this until Fenerbahçe feel confident enough that they've caught Rampage out of position. But speaking of out of position, hello?
Yeah, Frozen, he's got to slither away real fast, but Tussle flashing forward, bringing the Shen to the party. That might have been overkill, but Evi is able to finish the job. Tussle shakes the stone right off. Down goes the Casio.
Unfortunately, just some miscommunication there about, who was holding what pressure point. Thaldrin had made his back, so there was no one keeping tabs on Shin. And unfortunately for Frozen, he didn't have the necessary vision underneath him to secure that. And now another flash burn by Japone.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Rampage, they're finding themselves a little more emboldened right now and pinging in the area of the Baron. Frozen's still down for 15 seconds. That's the primary carry of this team.
And you can see the assist pings immediately going onto the Baron. Rampage, I think that they should actually just pressure this mid lane tower, though.
Looks like that's what they're going to do, but the junglers found each other out. Now Padden has to rocket jump away. Yutori Mayachi was unleashing the Gatling gun of this Kog'Maw, and they're just going to keep on top of it with the mini wave coming up to size. Frozen's just spawned up. He's going to have to slither real quick to try and save his tower.
And that's still just a one-item Kog'Maw. He hasn't completed what looks like a Wit's End sitting in his inventory and already putting out ridiculous amounts of damage.
That's not going to be easy for 1907 Fenerbahçe to try and shred through, so all of a sudden Rampage finding themselves a little bit more swagger in their step, but 1907 trying to push things in. Still difficult to do. Padden does have that static shiv to pair up with his Infinity Edge, so we're 2/3 of the way towards that Tristana power spike. However, we'll see what they're able to get done here. Another Infernal Dragon spawning in 40 seconds.
Yeah, but this is now when teams really need to make their backs if they are going to look for those last-second buy opportunities.
Might be in for a fight here. Tussle does tank a little bit of poke damage. Frozen is nowhere to be found here. No way for him to get into this fight, so if the chase is on, no, it doesn't look like it. Everyone's backing away.
Are we going to continue to hold this?
Ramane did not get the memo! Oh, he's going to burn flash!
Huge ultimate down, though. Yes, the Syndra uses the flash, but there's no longer any cask as the Infernal Drake will go live in 12 seconds. But at this point, 1907 Fenerbahçe are like, no one is backed, just chunk the health, get the Lee Sin out of here, we're going to turn and immediately burn the Infernal. But in response, Rampage are just rushing towards the Baron. They know that 1907 Fenerbahçe are on this dragon.
And there's no way they can contest it going down oh so quick, but V-line right now, Rampage going for this Baron, actually trying to just ping to go to the mid lane instead. They want to take a fight.
The indecision here.
Oh boy, setting up for a death brush. I don't know if this is advisable.
They're stacking the orb, so the Cinder damage will at least come out big.
They saw that ward come out. Game's up.
Yep, they call the bluff and they're just going to push mid. So Rampage, a little bit indecision on the Baron, although as I say that, they're moving towards it now.
Let's see if they can get it. The tower is nearly set to fall already. The minions are going to do the rest of the work, and the rest of 1907 Fenerbahçe coming to bear, crash around the back of the pit, but this Baron's not nearly low enough. Can they turn for the fight? Thaldron, that is a big shield on top of him, and he flag drags in, goes for the dome, and Ramane's going to fall to start things off. Frozen cleaning him up off the back of it. Yutori Mayashi knocked up to the high ground, but he's not able to get anything else done. It's a 2-for-1 trade.
But that's still inside track for 1907 Fenerbahçe. They will get this mid lane tower. It is pretty much on its last leg, last stand. Push this forward, probably clear out the top lane, make their reset, and start setting up for Baron again.
This time, no one here to defend it, so they're able to clear that one out. 6 towers to 3, 2 Infernal Drakes. There'll be another on the way, and they stop the Baron attempt of Rampage. Fenerbahçe back in the driver's seat.
Yeah, but it's now the question of what Rampage are going to do with this window where 1907 are making the back. We will take another look at this team fight. Again, we talked about it. Thaldron, he doesn't get a lot of credit, but it's about how he sets up these team fights. Unfortunately, Baron takes him out. But got the nice Cataclysm.
I mean, he did the job. You know, sometimes when your team follows you all the way in, it doesn't matter if you die because you take a couple people down with you. Rampage.
This is the window I was talking about. In the 1907 back, it meant that they lost control over the Baron pit. So Rampage see that they're trying to fix the waves, and they immediately pull the trigger on the Baron.
Yeah, they got Baron fever for sure. Now Tussle looking to try and catch out onto Padden. He gets the kick back into Ramane, turns and burns, and they're going to be able to find him. Rampage taking out the carry right there, and even through the heal, they might have the chance to take the Baron this time.
But they still need to respect the fact that Crash is around as well as the Cassiopeia, so they're not 100% confident to go for this.
Yeah, but Thaldron's not there. However, he does have the teleport. Going to start it up right now, and looks like Rampage they're going to turn off. Looking for Frozen this time. Do they have the damage? No taunt.
Oh, so close to hitting that taunt there.
That would have been the difference maker, and now a little bit low. They don't feel like they can try and fight this one out. So 4 members of 1907 Fenerbahçe are enough to deter this Rampage squad. They have to scatter away from the barrel.
And unfortunately, that was the window that Rampage had to try to exploit 1907 Fenerbahçe not being in position. So losing that is pretty massive because now it's just going to go back into a tug of war over the vision, and 1907 will have the waves. You can see that Frozen's setting it up in the top lane. The bot wave has already been shoved up. Someone will need to respond and reset that, and it gives them all of the time to walk in, clear out all this vision, and try for another Baron setup.
Yeah, and in the meantime, there'll be another Infernal Drake in some minutes away, and with the control of the rivers on both sides, 1907 Fenerbahçe looking to sit pretty. It's been a few hectic moments for this team, but they definitely seem to be controlling it. And unfortunately for Rampage, it's starting to look like they may not be able to walk away from this Worlds with a win.
It's not over yet, Pyra, because you do have the 2 completed items now on Kog'Maw. He's also got his Zeal, so he's looking for that 3rd one. There are still hope windows. You can see that this is where Rampage are comfortable. They said it multiple times. They're a slow, patient, methodical team. It's about their superstar ADC, getting him to that point where he can really take advantage of a fight, and he's still in perfect position to do that. You know, great CS. He's kept time with Tristana. He's already been devastating with 2 items. He's going to be even more so when he gets that Hurricane.
It's very true, Frostgren. Still, though, it's going to be really tough for this team to climb back, and we saw a little bit of an indecision. We saw them not being able to pull the trigger. Don't know if they would have gotten the Baron. However, for the time being, decided to sit in the mid lane and fire away at the minion waves. They still need to be able to knock that one down in the middle.
I mean, if it's not the Baron, it could also be the Infernal. Letting 3 Infernals go would absolutely be the last nail in the coffin for them.
Oh, that's a little bit rough for sure. Rampage is still pinging around, but of course you see 1907 Fenerbahçe, they don't want to give the Baron away.
The situation that they're struggling with right now is the fact that Thaldron doesn't have the teleport. Evie doesn't have his either, but he gets to be Shin, so he pretty much has it anyway with Stand United. And that's kind of the issue that Fenerbahçe have run into, and why they can't just immediately rush towards the Baron that they were setting up. And with Infernal spawning so closely, I feel like they're just going to take this one slow. You know, let's wait for the teleport cooldown to come back up before we try to make the Baron play, unless Rampage just massively misposition themselves. And let's instead focus on this Infernal that's spawning in 1 minute 30 seconds. By the time we take that down, hopefully we'll have the teleport back up, and then we can try to set up this Baron properly.
Yeah, that's the controlled style. All right, so there you see the ward clearing out. 1907 Fenerbahçe priming this Baron to see if they can maybe get a catch on the back half of it too, because they see Tussle just inside of his own jungle. And of course, Dara just standing on the outside as well. Thaldron still clearing in the bottom side. Full control for 1907 Fenerbahçe, but Rampage, they're not too far behind, and we have a 3-item Kog'Maw to bear.
Yeah, the big AoE purchase in the Hurricane, so it's not just about the 3 items, it's about the fact that, you know, no one is safe now on the side, which means that Thaldron, Crash, your job's got that much harder, that much more important for these 5v5s. Find this Kog'Maw, get him out of position, and blow him up.
Now let's see if they can wheel the cannon in the right position, though, on the Rampage side. Still pushing waves back, making sure that 1907 Fenerbahçe do not have too many chances to start pushing on to those base towers. However, still a strong presence in the mid lane. They've got to be able to try and contest this dragon. As you said, giving up a third could be fatal.
And it looks really slow right now that there's just a massive hiatus, but this is exactly what 1907 want. They've got Faldron out into a side lane, so they don't want to get caught out in a 5v5 because they know that the enemy top laner can be there and theirs cannot. So this patience, this is controlled patience.
Yeah, looks like Crash going to run straight into Ramane and Tussle. Safeguards back to his mid laner. Still throwing his weight around for sure. Crash didn't really take any damage at all.
But here's the Infernal.
Tussle. Here comes Evie. They've got a taunt off. It's onto Thaldron. Does it tanky enough, though, to survive? Evie gets knocked back into the team. The power gets unleashed, but no one's gone down. A couple of key ultimates spent, not to mention a flash out of Thaldron.
But the problem is that there's no vision down there. It's so dangerous for Rampage to step forward into this. They've got a single ward in front of the Dragon Pit, and it's going to be 3 uncontested Infernals in favor of 1907 Fenerbahçe.
Oh man, that's looking to be disaster right now for Rampage. The gold might be even, but those dragons can spell all the difference. Now, Rampage, they're making a beeline for the Baron, but this is in full vision, and no one has backed on the Fenerbahçe side.
And I've seen this play before, and Rampage just have never had the confidence to pull the trigger on it. So I think that they're trying to set up a trap, but unfortunately, because they haven't checked the Baron, they don't know that it's warded. And so 1907 Fenerbahçe, with all of the information, just choose to call their bluff and push up mid.
Yeah, might be able to take out some towers too if Rampage still stick around trying to set up this death brush, but Crash is just going to find out that lone control ward. Padden and Japone still standing strong, and Crash gets caught on the stun. Tussle around the side looking to delete. Padden gets the kick off and interrupts the jump. That might just be enough to do it. 5-man, they're going to turn for this one, but they're going to have to fight for it with 3 Infernal Drakes. A 4v5 might not be out of the question for 1907 Fenerbahçe.
Still need to respect the fact that Crash is still alive. You can see he's trying to debate, are we walking in the front? Are we going in the back?
Yeah, they were looking for Japone right now. Tussle right on the front line for the chase.
They could just go
taking a couple
top
members.
lane.
Looking for it. Yeah, Dara. Clearly has chase off. Here's the Kog'Maw wheeling in the cannon. Let's see if they can take it down.
I like this call. Don't even play with the Baron right now. Crash is still alive. You've got a huge wave and huge damage on the Kog'Maw. Take the free structure.
See what they can do with the man advantage. Still 15 seconds left on the Tristan, and that's a massive mini wave. Pretty easy pickings. Try and get some gold back into their pockets, so Rampage will clear that away. Still pinging back for the Baron, though, is 1907.
Yeah, and it's a huge wave that someone needs to respond to. So, yes, Jarvan is taking care of it. He does have his teleport if he really needs to get here quickly, although he can't just walk. But this is so much respect from Rampage.
Yeah.
They are so terrified of Crash.
Yeah, and terrified of Baron throws. I suppose it's healthy, but at the same time, they might have been able to pick up a couple of them.
This hasn't been a problem for any other team this entire play-ins.
Well, that's very true. Looks like 1907 Fenerbahçe are making a play on the Baron. It's only with 3 members. Ramane's still sticking around, but he's in danger of getting caught up. Now Padden's joining the party. Here comes Tussle around the side. Let's see if they can stop this one. A lot of pings flying on all sides. Evie's not started to stop, and it's going to be Tussle who gets knocked up into the team. Still a lot of damage, but they got wild growth on, and it's going to be a big party barrel. Redemption is not going to land on Adara. Let's see if they can take out Frozen to start things off. There's a shutdown for Evie, and the Kog'Maw will find a kill onto Thaldron. Rampage looking to finish this fight. Padden already jumped away, though, and will this finally be the time for Rampage to get the kill? Crash is caught out. If they can take down the Smite, that might just be enough. Crash moving back forward, and it looks like Tussle can't find the finisher.
Just turn on the Baron! Oh, please just take it.
There they go, starting it. All right, but Tussle's in danger. Has to safeguard back. They don't want to do it.
They're given so much respect. Now Padden is back into position, so this Tristana definitely is a problem. And Tussle is taking a lot of damage standing behind the monster.
Oh, you can say that again. Evie tried for the taunt, but it's not enough. They're inside the back of the Baron pit. Yutori Miyashi forced to flash away. Not in this fight. Evie's isolated for the team, and everything is going wrong. Padden gets Ramane looking for Evie. They turn back onto the Baron, and the aggro doesn't even reset.
Disaster. The indecisiveness means that 1907 Fenerbahçe will get the Baron, but Tussle, the miracle still.
Let's see if he can do it. Sends the Sonic Wave just a smidgen too late. Down he goes. And 1907 Fenerbahçe come up with everything. The kills, the Baron buff on all 5 members. All that's left is for them to push into the base.
This has been a 10-minute Baron dance, and ultimately it's Baron that does so much of the damage. Let's look at, take a look at how this team fight started. Now the big guy to look at on your screen is Hitori, because he goes pretty much untouched this entire time. So Rampage, they appeal back to their Kog'Maw. He starts to get confidence. He's pressuring forward, pushes them out, and this is where things look amazing. Now Yutori immediately turns toward the Baron. He's like, come on guys, let's get it into position. But the team just doesn't rotate quickly enough. Are we zoning them away? Are we on the Baron? Pick one, force Crash to come to you, and then this is the biggest mistake. Standing behind the Baron and just getting shredded by all of these spikes. Yutori's actually going to flash out of the back of the pit, and now all your damage is gone.
Yep, Ramune Tussle just kind of standing there waiting for the end of days, and that was all she wrote. Double kill to Tristana, insult to injury on top of it. We know the rest.
Yep, and Tussle will try to make the miracle still, doesn't get it. Crash secures the Baron and might secure the victory here for 1907 Fenerbahçe. Triple Infernal, 35 minutes of the game with the Baron, and now sieging on bot ended.
Yeah, that tower's getting cut through pretty quickly right now. A lot of crits coming out of that Tristana cannon. Down goes the first tower inside the base, still pings flying. Rampage trying to mount a desperate defense. This is their last chance to try and get a victory, to bow out of Worlds with their heads held high.
At this point, they just want to get a good team fight. They've had flashes of brilliance, but unable to execute all the way through. Maybe feeling a little bit of those stage jitters so far, because again, it feels like they're just indecisive. Are we taking the Baron? Are we not taking the Baron? Are we looking for the flank? Are we steamrolling forward in this fight?
Yep. As you've mentioned so many times, the LGL, small league, small region, emerging, trying to prove that they have the chops to tangle with some of these larger regions. The TCL producing some serious contenders, even on the world stage, and once again, it looks like 1907 Fenerbahçe might be joining those ranks pretty soon as Crash goes in, gets the knockback, and they're going to start the deletions. Yutaro Mayashi's already out of this fight, and so he goes. So goes the damage. The dominoes are falling, and they just keep on moving. The double kill for the Casio. They don't even need that inhibitor. Already got one down in the bottom. There goes the ace. 35 minutes on the clock, and it's all over but the crying as 1907 Fenerbahçe turn it back around, getting themselves one more win and going undefeated in their group.
Fenerbahçe executing on what Rampage was just a bit gun-shy in doing, which was pulling the trigger on the Baron. As soon as they saw they had an advantage, they said, this purple worm is ours, secured it, and then immediately ended the game.
Just making themselves look even better, finding a third win on the board, and balls back in Hong Kong Attitudes Court, I suppose.
And that's the thing, it was a must-win for 1907 Fenerbahçe to keep toe with HKA. They want to come out first in the group. They had to win here, and now this group just got even spicier.
Yep, there's going to be a few more very decisive games coming through, and shaking hands with the Rampage members, but unfortunately for these guys, not a whole lot left for them to do. But 1907 Fenerbahçe, man, making an emergency sub, a lot of question marks raised. It doesn't look like there's been any trouble whatsoever. Crash has been coming up huge.
Yeah, and we've also seen the consistent performing Thaldrin as well as Frozen, so it makes Crash's job that much easier when he's already got two solid backbones in his solo lanes.
Right. Now, in the very beginning of the game, there were definitely some misplays, especially on Frozen's side, trying to get the kill with 2v1, looked very secure. Ramune coming up with a nice play to turn things around, and then Tussle getting in one more. All the same, like, when it counted, when push came to shove, Frozen was there.
Yeah, it's about making those, clutch decisions, knowing when to go for the Baron, knowing when to set up the team fight. It was still, complete 100% dragon control, 100%, pretty much a monster objective control. So yes, 1907 Fenerbahçe, it wasn't the cleanest mid-game that it could have been, but statistically, they felt in control for the entire game.
And they managed it. So to get their thoughts on that game, let's send it over to our analysts.
Thank you very much, Pyra. Of course, interesting way that the game unfolded. We take a chance. We look a little bit at the composition shortly here. What I will say right off the bat is this is probably the best early game we have seen from Rampage so far. Unfortunately, from that point on, it did feel like everything started to fall apart.
I mean, it was a bit of a bold pick out of Frozen to take the Cassiopeia into Syndra. It's a little bit of a skilly matchup. A lot of people think it does favor the Syndra just a little bit, given that you have that long-range stun set up, and it did feel like it went bad pretty quickly just because of that, and Ramune was able to step up and have probably his best game in the tournament so far.
And you have that slight edge when you get the Abyssal Mask for yourself, but mostly, yeah, pretty difficult mid lane to start the game out with. But yeah, Rampage, when you look at the early game, it wasn't that bad. Most of it came from Fenerbahçe mistakes, but ultimately their early game was good.
And some of that did come from some fantastic plays from Ramune. So as we take a look at this replay brought to you by Acer Predator, you can see just how dominant he was, and maybe some questionable choices coming in from Frozen.
I like the decision here to try and gank the Syndra. Syndra, Crash tries to wait out the flash, just misses the cast, and then Frozen makes the mistake of continuing to chase, tries to get that ultimate off, and it just puts him in range to go down. Now Crash is in a bad spot. He's going to get chased down by Tussle here as well. Nice kick flashback, and they're able to get the second kill of the skirmish.
Yeah, you could see that exact moment where they knew they had made a mistake. Unfortunately for the side of 1907, Fenerbahçe, Frozen overstepping. But what we can say is the Shen ultimate timing was fantastic. This is that second kill where, once again, Frozen, you feel like the first one might have been a mistake. The second one, obvious signs of trying to outplay people that aren't trying to outplay him. And so he outplays himself.
Yeah, very difficult. And the thing I like that it wasn't just like, oh, they messed up, I got a kill, hooray, 300 gold for me. But they actually did a good job with Ramune, continuing to push the lead, got a CS advantage. They broke that turret in the mid lane with some extra resources. So you could see them playing around with their advantages.
And from there, it did feel like a very even game. But at a very specific point in time, everything went wrong. 33 minutes, we're going to take a look at the fight that happened around Baron. Fenerbahçe, in the end, coming out on top, but a very turbulent exchange.
Right, they pick two. It's a 4v3, and you can get the Baron here, but it takes them forever to start this thing off. Tussle got chunked out really aggressively by Padden just before this, and they all group up in the back of the pit where Baron's DPS is the highest. It also hits multiple members, so they get chunked out very low. Yutori has to flash the wall. Split call as Evie tries to go onto Padden. People are dying in the pit. It's a disaster.
Yep, Rampage just died to the Baron. They're lucky the Lee Sin got out alive and very disconnected from the side of Rampage. And that wasn't even the Rift Herald play. That was the Baron play.
Yeah, the Rift Herald play, not so hot either. The thing that really disappointed me was Rampage had a lead. They made a mistake at the Rift Herald play. Fenerbahçe didn't pick it up, but then they just felt like they never crossed mid-river almost the whole rest of the game until they finally got another pickoff onto Padden, excuse me.
And the big thing that I noticed, too, is that when we saw Gambit kind of in a similar scenario, right, they took a very different approach. They went for some controversial picks. I think you could say they're having a little bit of fun with it. And they tried things. And in a game that, in the end, you're just trying to save face. You're just trying to show the world that you're a team that
you just want to be
wins.
You just want to be remembered. And Gambit went out there and they had fun. They remembered. People are going to remember that. Baron play from Rampage, not necessarily what you want to be remembered for, unfortunately.
But Fenerbahçe now coming in 3-0, have secured themselves a spot in the elimination stage. Things look pretty good for them, but also I feel like we've highlighted some new weaknesses as well.
Yeah, I think we can look at mid lane and say that is an outstanding weakness. When you look at their opponents, there's a world where mid lane can be a target. It's the individual mistakes that we're seeing from Frozen. Perhaps the fact that he's having to communicate with Crash so heavy-handed could ultimately be his downfall, but now we're seeing early laning phase and mechanical mistakes.
Right, he got ganked early on in the first match versus HKA, and it seems now after dying here versus Rampage that he has to be very careful going forward in this rematch because he might be getting targeted very aggressively in-game moving forward.
Do we think that this was just that confidence pick similar to the Caps that we saw, or the LeBlanc we saw from Caps yesterday? Do we think that on a more conventional pick he can be safer, or does he just need to kind of take a step back?
I would say it's mentality more than champion as well. Cassiopeia is a comfort pick, but so are a million other mid lane champions for every mid laner at this tournament. Just play more carefully.
All right, well now let's send it over to Fish, who's standing by for an interview with 1907 Fenerbahçe's jungler.
Hey guys, I'm here with Crash, jungler for 1907 Fenerbahçe, and you guys just picked up your third win of the play-ins group stage. I mean, how do you feel right now knowing that it's in your hands to make it into the next stage of groups?
네, 방금 전에 경기를 마치면서 이제 그룹 스테이지에서 플레이인 그룹 스테이지 세 번째 승리를 거머쥐게 됐습니다. 그럼 이제 제 2라운드 진출이 확정이 됐는데요. 지금 기분이 어떠십니까?
아직 다음 경기가 남아 있잖아요. 다음 경기가 우리 목표가 1위가 됐어요. 일단 1위를 하는 게 목표니까 아직 기쁘긴 이르네요.
Well, we still have a final match with Hong Kong Attitude, and we have actually changed our goal to becoming the first seed in this group. So it's still too early for us to be happy.
Well, that's great to hear. Good luck on your match later on against Hong Kong Attitude. I kind of want to talk about how you came into the team because you were a last-minute emergency substitute. You only had a few days to work with the team before coming to the World Championship. What has that been like, coming into the World Championship with so little time to prepare?
네, 그렇다면 행운을 빌어드리겠습니다. 그리고 이제 지금 저희 경기하기 직전에 바로 대체 선수로 마지막 순간에 합류를 하게 됐는데요. 그렇다면 며칠 정도밖에 연습할 시간도 없었고 지금 이 상황에서 어떻게 대체를 하고 계십니까?
일단 제가 팀원들을 맞춰주는 식으로 하고, 그러니까 팀원들이 저를 맞춰주는 것보다 제가 팀원들을 맞춰주는 게 쉬울 것 같아가지고 제가 팀원들한테 맞춰주는 식으로 하고 있어요.
Well, I figured that it will be easier for me to follow their style than asking them to follow my style. So that's what I'm doing now.
Which is good to hear because Tholjin had a few things to say about how they were trying to adapt to your style as well. So it's good to hear that you're doing the same. Finally, just want to ask, what is communication like in a team? Because I know you're a mixture of both Turkish as well as Korean players. How do you guys communicate going into game? How do you guys practice together, so to speak?
네, 저도 안 그래도 그 부분이 궁금했는데요. 그 답변 감사합니다. 그렇다면 이번에 팀 내 의사소통에 관한 질문인데요. 지금 한국 선수와 터키 선수들이 섞여 있습니다. 서로 의사소통은 어떻게 하고 있고 연습은 어떻게 하고 있나요?
일단 제가 기본적인 영어밖에 못 쓰거든요. 네, 그 기본적인 영어로 탑 친구가 영어를 굉장히 잘하니까 탑이랑 그 테일이 형이 같이 제가 말하는 걸 못 알아듣는 거를 통역해 주는 식으로 하고 있어요.
Well, actually, I speak very little English, but our Thaldrin speaks very good English as well as Frozen. So they're helping me to talk to other players. They're helping me translate my Korean into English.
Well, that's great to hear. Best of luck in your final match against Hong Kong Attitude. We're going to go to a very quick break. We'll be back with more Worlds 2017 action up next.
Dodged by Ramane, and it's first blood on the 1v2.
Rampage are making it very clear that the mid lane is what they want.
All right, Scout of the Week, the Unleashed Power's on top of Frozen. They push him back. Oh my goodness. Japone gets the steal out. On the end, they can't quite pick up the Eye of the Rift Herald, so Rampage decide they want to take the 5v5 fight right to him, but they're getting a little bopped around. Tussle around the side looking to delete. Pad gets picked off and interrupts the jump. That might just be enough to do it, and everything is going wrong. Padden gets Ramane looking for Evie. They turn back onto the Baron, and the aggro doesn't even reset. Yatari Mayashi's already out of this fight, and so he goes. So goes the damage. The dominoes are falling, and they just keep on moving. The double kill for the Casio. It's all over, but the Cryan has 1907 Fenerbahçe turn it back around.